Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again. Michigan Hangtime back in the house. The boys in the box. Scott Burnstein, TJ Kelley here to talk hoops. And it's been crazy with the weather and all these insanity postponements and cancellations. But we burrow through.
Frigid outside,
yes,
but heated inside.
True.
With some great matchups
when they're playing. Yes,
and controlled climate.
Hot shooting guards.
Yes. Okay. So quickly, we appreciate our sponsors very much. Lawrence Technological University, the MHSA, Hungry Howie's, and BCAM. Dan Young and Matt Mowery will be here at the end of the show. We'll talk about what we're calling the Lucky 7 for Miss Basketball hopefuls who we think will get on the ballot. At least they have the best shot, we believe. So you want to make sure you stay tuned for that. But right now, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in boys hoops. And, of course, obviously this is when we start with the PSL. You know, we're at the quarterfinals. We had the semifinals. And I think really the story out of all of it right now is that Renaissance said, hey, you guys forgot about us.
Yes.
Everyone was writing us off the page and kind of writing our obituary after Vito left and Carrington left. And you got to tip your hat to Johnny White and coming in there and stabilizing and steadying the ship and making sure that thing didn't go off the rails, because it seemed like it was on the verge of going off the rails.
Well, we mentioned it. We mentioned this off camera, and we went out and covered them the day that Carrington left.
Yep.
And they were playing Beecher at
Beecher.
And they gave him a heck of a game.
Right.
And it was a heck of an effort.
And I think that foreshadowed the approach that Renaissance was going to take, that, we're not cashing in our chips. There's still a lot of players on this team that have dreams of winning a PSL title, that have dreams of making a long run in a tournament.
Senior leadership.
Yeah.
And Chandler Turner, in addition to on the bench, John White, but you got to give a lot of credit to Chandler Turner, the senior captain of that group, circling the wagons.
Yeah.
Well, I also like Keelan Marzette, slashing lefty, kind of maybe a little bit positionless. But, yeah, he's one of those guys where he kind of stepped up when that opportunity was there, as any player should be ready to do. And now he gets to play for a lot of chips here on Friday in the PSL Final.
A lot of people were kind of penciling in King versus Cass for the PSL title, but Renaissance said, we're going to be there and we're going to be pounding on that door, and you better let us in.
You and I did not just pencil them into the finals. We said King would win.
I said King was going to win.
We said King should be the winners of the city. TJ did not go that far. Renaissance beats King in the semifinals. How'd they do it?
Well, a little bit of a foul trouble. It was pretty tight. Chandler Turner had 3 fouls in the first quarter, or first half, so he winds up going to the bench. To be honest, it was just turnovers that kind of killed King. They just didn't make shots. Renaissance had a lot of turnover, or a lot of baskets in transition, and giving up layups. King's a team that they'd rather keep that score at 45, 50 points. When you're giving up, 5 field goals or layups, that right there, that affects the whole game, and you can't necessarily play to your pace. And then, it was unfortunate. John Massey got in foul trouble in the first half, which probably slowed them down a little bit. Omar Ziegler played really well. Chauncey Willis played really well. We'll talk about them later. But, yeah, hats off to Renaissance. They just did a great job. Chandler Turner had a really strong second half. And that, Keon Henderson did a good enough job as a man on the point guard.
We saw King struggle against Clarkston like that at the King Classic. So, so they've still, still got some work to do. They won't be Kings of the City here this year, but they've still got the state tournament to get it done. So,
and with Ziegler and Willis, you got a really bright future for the Crusaders.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So on the other side of things, Cass in the finals as we expected. What did you like about how they played?
They were down 13-10 to Pershing, a young Pershing team.
A good Pershing team.
A good Pershing team. Ranked Pershing team.
Yeah.
And, hey, it was, people started, buzzing and stuff like that a little bit. And then it was just too much Cass. They just, hey, we're not losing. We've come this far. We're all juniors and seniors. This isn't happening. Yeah. Not only that, in our gym.
Yes.
And we want to play for the PSL DPS Big D Championship.
In our
gym.
Yeah.
But yeah, hats off to
as
Steve
they did for the
Steve Hall.
I was going to say no, that wasn't at there, Joe. I was going to say as they did at the football finals, but that was at Renaissance. So for the football finals, so, So anyway, they still want to make it a clean sweep.
Yes,
football, basketball.
Right. Yeah, can't do that. Got to keep the rivalry going.
Yeah. So how do you like that game? How do you like that matchup now, Renaissance and Cass?
I like it. Tons of.
Have they played yet this year? Because I do not
They have
have
not.
that in front of me. Okay. All right.
Let's say that you have a lot of seniors that are committed. Obviously, Chandler Turner going to Bowling Green. We'll see what's going to go on with Marzette. Obviously, he'll play in college somewhere.
Yeah, Tyson A. Cuff, one of the best
Tyson
juniors in the
A. Cuff,
state. Khalil Whitehead's going to Chicago State.
You got
He's
your
on
buddy
the wing.
Josh Powell.
Josh Powell, who just sent me a little tweet about why I'm not giving him enough
Yep.
love in my PSL
Checked
rankings,
his rankings.
which we'll get to in a second.
Okay. I like that though.
Yeah,
We like the
We
interaction.
like the dialogue.
All right.
Yep.
So, but I think we're all
Daniel Autry, who's for me
Daniel
the
Autry,
best
one of the better-
shooter
Yep.
in the PSL.
Cass will win, but it's going to be a great game.
I think that I'm going to give the nod to Cass just because I think that their guard play is that much better.
Yeah.
Kyle LeGrier is another guy that's a junior who's going to be back next year, obviously.
Yeah.
But you put him with Acuff, and they like to speed teams up. They like to pressure them. At the end of the game yesterday, Renaissance. I mean, there were some opportunities where they started flipping it a little bit, and it is what it is. But when you get into pressure situation, when you're getting into championship games. Then you have to be able to take care of the ball.
Yeah.
And that will be Renaissance's biggest obstacle, in my opinion, for how Cass plays.
Well, let's keep it Operation Friendly Friendship here
sure.
because we're going to definitely have the Catholic League champion take on the city champion. Catholic League semifinals had Orchard Lake St. Mary's and UDJ getting together again. And you were saying when we were talking before the show, this run that UDJ has had in the Catholic League.
It's
as far as
unprecedented.
championships.
They're going for a 7th straight Catholic League championship, and at the AB level, the most reeled off in a row has only been 4. And that was done in the 1950s.
And who did that?
That was Detroit Catholic Central,
Okay.
49, 50,
The 50s.
51, 52. And then since then, there's been some teams that have put together 3 straight, but UDJ's going for number 7 straight, and it's a true Catholic League dynasty right now, and it's because of a defensive mindset and the type of playmakers and game changers that they have on a year in, year out basis, guys that are not just going to lead in the stat sheet, but they're going to lead in the huddle.
Yeah.
Guys like Daniel Friday and Julian Dozier this year,
Yeah.
who are just, I call them lunch pail superstars.
Yeah.
They're guys that aren't going to go out. They're not going to get you 30. They're not going to get you 40.
Yeah.
But they're both gonna beat you with skill, intelligence, savvy,
Tempo.
leadership.
Right.
And just the attitude that we're going to go out there and we're going to take what's ours.
And like you said, they're so deep. Caleb Hunter's almost like the 7th
Yeah,
option.
their transfer from Southfield Christian won a state title as a point guard at the Division IV ranks last year. Lindsey Hunter's son, who's an assistant at Renaissance, has come into UDJ's, giving him
Going to make districts interesting, huh?
yeah.
But it's struggling to
Giving
get
him,
minutes.
giving him a boost off the bench.
Yeah.
He's probably their best shooter.
Sure.
But he's not starting.
Yeah.
He's their 6th or 7th man. And I liked when I saw Coach Donnelly going with a backcourt of Dozier and Hunter, kind of playing a 2-point guard backcourt, and he was doing that a lot in the second half last night.
Okay.
Daniel Friday, I have him in my Mr. Basketball Power rankings. I got Daniel Friday at number 2. Again, he's not a guy that's going to give you 25, but every game he's going to give you between 15 and 20 points. 5 to 8 rebounds,
working.
5 to 8 assists.
Working.
Just
And
he's
a matchup nightmare.
He's a stat stuffer, and he battled foul trouble against Orchard Lake St. Mary's in the semifinals. Missed the whole second quarter, and then just came out of the locker room into the third quarter with reckless abandon. Scored 8 straight. 3 of them were on alley-oops from Dozier. The final 2, slam bam, thank you, ma'am. Getting his jam on at the rim, and then he had a big play on defense in the fourth quarter where Wisconsin commit Lauren Bowman, Orchard Lake's best player, going in for a layup, which would have either tied the game or given St. Mary's the lead. Friday beat him to the basket and blocked him at the rim. They went back the other way and scored. Julian Dozier had a couple big stealing scores in the fourth quarter. And it wasn't pretty. They only scored 46 points, but they grinded out that victory. And as Coach Donnelly said, and as Daniel Friday said after the game, this dynasty rests its hat on defense, and it came through for us again in the semis against St. Mary's.
And that was their first championship 7 years ago.
Oh, right, exactly.
That's
a new,
to me is the more
what you call
amazing
new
thing.
old stock.
A microwave dynasty.
It's like a box.
It's like if the Lions.
It's
like if the Lions were playing late in early February. You know that doesn't happen.
I don't think I gave it. The last thing I'll say about it, I don't think I gave Julian Dozier enough credit. I think I really underestimated him with him coming back into the state.
Yeah.
He was out in Arizona last year as a junior. I'd only seen him play as a sophomore. I didn't see him a ton over the summer. I came away incredibly impressed by him last night. He only scored 10 points, but he had 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and 6 steals, and was controlling tempo, controlling pace, just a bulldog of a point guard, as savvy and as gritty as they come in the backcourt. And you combine him with Daniel Friday, that's a dynamic duo.
I will say that at the time of recording this, we do not know who Wednesday's semifinal winner would be between Detroit Loyola and Catholic Central. So by the time they end up hearing this podcast or watching this show, you're going to know who that is. But what are your thoughts just of that matchup? Does Loyola have a shot?
I think that they do have a shot. I really like I think Mark Mayberry's been a player that has really broke out this year. Cam Hudson, has been stable for Loyola over, his time being there.
And they lost a big time transfer in Myron Gardner.
And let's say this: if Myron Gardner's on that team, then we're probably talking about them competing not only for a Catholic League championship, or let's say this, going to give UAD Jesuit the biggest shot that they can. But then there would also be a chance working on a state championship. I just think that maybe Catholic Central's just got too much up front. Lukowski's playing great.
Rucat, to me, Justin Rucat
I think,
is the story of that team because he was just a paint presence the last couple of years over the summer.
Athleticism
worked on his perimeter
to
game. Now, Justin Rucat rolls on the floor. He's going to beat you inside and out. And I saw a game where he hit 6 or 7 3-pointers. He's just as dangerous from beyond the arc now as he is on the blocks.
I think he would be a great walk-on opportunity for scholarship teams, whether it be a high academic Division I or Division II, definitely.
Yeah.
Because he's just give me a kid they can make make jumpers, run up and down the floor. And not only that, he's been on a pretty competitive team.
Yeah.
And so
playing
getting adjusted to winning,
teams.
playing against competitive.
Yeah,
so you're doing that against. It's not you're not playing against the Sisters of the Poor.
One final side note I'll say about UDJ and their run to in their attempt to get back to Breslin and win a state title.
Yeah.
Their one Achilles heel, I would say, is outside shooting. They don't have a great perimeter attack in terms of their 3-point from 3-point distance. When they won the state title with Cassius as a senior, they had Scotty Nelson, the football star that could really loosen up defenses and be prone to go for double digits from beyond the arc.
One thing that they
exist
do
this year, but
right.
I think they can. I think they can overcome it.
I think their size is a big difference. You got to look at Daniel Friday is also a guy who's starting to shoot the ball a little better, but he doesn't really show it. But
Dozier and Friday are not bad shooters, but they're not great shooters.
Right? But if you give me Daniel Friday, give me JT Morgan, give me Jalen Thomas. I mean, that's
Jordan Montgomery.
Well, I'm just saying those 3 guys that are 6'6", 6'5", and taller. In the front court. I mean, that's a lot for a lot of other front courts in Class A to really handle and be able to say, hey, we got to put up for 32 minutes of going back and forth on the boards.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one thing that why they don't shoot the ball shoot the ball as well as they did when they won a state championship. That will help them just because they, that rebounding ability and, hey, get a slasher, putbacks and stuff like that, definitely helps.
That was the 2016 state title.
Maybe that's Clarkston.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think from a top side they can play with them, and of course the way Nicholson's playing on the board.
I'll tell you what,
anyone.
give me Clarkston and UAD Jesuit at the finals.
Yeah.
I'm sure the MHSA will be very happy.
Do we want to shout out Woodhaven?
Get your hotels right now.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to shout them out, and that's where I was going next. We went out for state champs on Monday, and again, we always like to spread it around. We're not just talking about getting to the
downriver love.
Absolutely, and these were 2 teams who were pretty much the kind of the cream of the crop. At the time, 1-2.
And this is Etzel Ford's first year in the Downriver League.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so we had Woodhaven and Etzel Ford get together. It was a 54-52 game that Woodhaven was able to pull out. At the end, you'll be able to see the highlights. It's kind of the Downriver League tourney that's going on. There's another game that will be taking place on Friday for the championship.
Fourth straight Downriver League title, maybe 3 straight. But
Josh Warren, 4 years.
Josh Warren, the best player Downriver seen in a decade, probably.
Woodhaven history.
Yeah.
Well,
last best player since Andrew Van Derendonk from Wyandotte.
Well, I was going to say the interesting thing, if you look at kind of, what I call the state champs era, which is like the last 15. For the longest time, it was Kennedy and it was Truman.
Yeah. Aaron Foster Smith.
Those were the two.
The two hyphens.
And then you had Melvindale that had some really, really good teams in the past. And then every once in a while, you would have some of what I call the football schools, Roosevelt and Roosevelt.
Brandon Bowdery was pretty good.
And Carlson once in a while.
PJ Reyes.
Now, it's just a Taylor High School, and for whatever reason, they're really down. They're only 3-9 overall on the year, so they're still trying to figure it out over there. But again, it's always fun to watch. The highlights are fun. And again, you do see some good basketball players.
All their best basketball players are playing hockey.
And they pretty much, again, like most. Not like here. I mean, like football, they just play each other. Here, they pretty much just play each other because there's a lot of teams in the league. But, Woodhaven took on King at the PSL Holiday Hoops Classic at Cass Tech, lost 62-45, but game to game.
Edsel Ford has a thoroughbred in Jamal Beydoun. I mean, he's a guy that can get you 25 or 30 and on any given night. So that's a name to watch for out of Dearborn. And then Woodhaven, in addition to Josh Warren, I know Marcus Brown and Brian Wilkinson are tough as nails on the perimeter.
I also heard real quick, Beydoun's dad was one of the original studs at U of M Dearborn basketball.
We just got about a minute left, but if you want to mention anything as far as movement on your rankings, I know 1 and 2 there wasn't a whole lot. USA you've now put into Division 3,
undefeated and winning well.
Yep, and in Division 4 you've got ranked teams going up against each other. I think coming up.
Yeah, quite a few. Camden Meridian. I think they play Athens coming up. We're Battle Creek St. Philip, but Camden Meridian. All those teams are really starting to play each other. They're kind of beating up on each other. Southfield Christian went and played a really tough record. I know you talked about Novi Christian being one of the top teams. If Southfield Christian wasn't in their league, but so Southfield Christian is really maintaining. They're playing with a lot of steam right now. Bellevue keeps on winning. But they'll also have to play Athens again this year, and Brimley's playing well. So in Class D, Division 4, maybe a little bit tough to decipher.
You got to contend with that Southfield Christian mystique, the mystique,
Christian
the aura. Yeah. You're not just playing the 2019 Southfield Christian Eagles. You're playing all the way back to
you got
13
guys
and 14.
You got guys who have been there before. You've got Kessler over at Tri-Unity. Where he's done his kind of things over the years.
But that schedule that Southfield Christian plays, it's so daunting.
Yeah.
There's so many great teams. No, it's good.
It pays dividends.
That's why
it pays
exactly.
dividends.
At one time this year, I think they were 4-6, and now they were
2-5.
Yeah, 2-5.
And they're 12-6 right
now. Not too shabby.
Right. Once they started getting into teams that were more in their league, instead of playing.
And they just beat West Bloomfield, who a team from the OA Red, and
Donovan Moore's back now.
Yeah. So, and their only loss they've had since Christmas break was to River Rouge, which could be the number 1 team of the whole state.
Absolutely. All right. True. We're going to hold it there. We're going to come back with the grab bag. We got a couple of topics we're going to jump onto today, so stay with us. We will be right back.
Fundraising should be fresh, flavorful, and simple. We have the perfect solution at Hungry Howie's. Dough Raiser. Your team or school can sell paper pizza certificates that can be redeemed for 1 medium pizza at participating locations.
We've been doing this fundraiser for about 4 years, and it's the easiest and best and most profitable fundraiser they have in Michigan.
Go to doughraiser.com to learn more and sign up. Your next fundraiser comes with flavored crust. Welcome to Hungry Howie's Dough Raiser.
All right, welcome back to State Champs Hangtime, Michigan. Time to reach into the grab bag and see what we're pulling out today. And again, we're talking about the PSL this week. It's PSL Championship, so this is a PSL-themed grab bag. And we want to first start with, Scott, you have put together some PSL player rankings, some power rankings.
I did a top 10. I did a little awards rundown for shouting out the best performances
Yeah.
by teams and players and coaches.
And I think your coach of the year was aptly chosen.
So I gave John White from Renaissance the coach of the year.
Look at where they are.
Chandler Turner was my number one player in the PSL. A captivating talent on the wing, just does it all.
Headed to Bowling Green.
Yeah, heading to Bowling Green. Tyson Acuff is my number 2 junior point guard from Cass Tech. I tout him as promising a point guard prospect as the league has seen in the last decade.
His senior year is going to be off the hook.
Yeah,
There's no question.
Yeah.
Jordan Whitford is my number 3 at King. Just a tireless point guard, a pit bull of a presence in the backcourt. I got Pierre Brooks Jr. at number 4. Right now he's probably the most natural scorer in the league as only a sophomore. He's a guy that just muscles his way to buckets in the paint. Just a ferocious getting in the lane and creating his own shot. Khalil Whitehead, I got at number 5. The Cass Tech wing is going to Chicago State. I think he's incredibly underrated. He can do a lot of different things for you. A very complete style of game. Kalen Grant, number 6 from Renaissance, left the state. Went out to Texas, came back this year. He's been a big reason that Renaissance has been able to keep the pushing the needle forward after some of those early question marks for the season.
And some exits.
Kaline Marzette, I got at number 7, has been a real pleasant surprise as a slasher on the wing for Renaissance. Omar Ziegler, I got at number 8 from King. He's a sophomore guard. Really like what I see from him. He can really light defenses up when he gets on a roll. Number 9 from Detroit Western, only a junior, Kip Clark, one of the more underrated post players in Metro Detroit. A type of kid that just really, he's just grind a lot.
Yeah.
A guy that's gonna beat you with a lot of hustle, a lot of heart and soul.
Grit.
Kip.
Yeah.
I like that. Kip.
And then number 10, Devon Bryant from Henry Ford, who's had a really nice year and is a guy that has got a sweet stroke and a guy that can create and distribute as well as generate a lot of offense. So. Most improved player I gave out to David Solomon from Detroit Pershing. Really like what I've seen from him. Best shooter, sniper award, Daniel Autry. I mentioned him a couple minutes ago from Cass Tech. Newcomer of the year, who I consider the best freshman right now in the PSL, Chancey Willis over at Detroit King. Kind of learning the tricks of the trade from Jordan Whitford.
That's good.
And then I gave Johnny White Coach of the Year, and it's been a really good season for PSL basketball. And I think there were some questions about whether or not it was just going to be a 2-team race,
like football
with King and Cass. But Renaissance has really brought what they've needed to bring to the table.
And maybe
to
Henry
make this,
Ford, obviously not as strong as they've been in the past, but.
Yeah,
but still,
just kind of
Renaissance is
when you play
Renaissance is bringing the thunder,
well,
though.
And the playoffs start.
Yeah.
Get through the districts.
Right. Well, and they have to. I think Henry Ford has to rely a lot on their shooting. That's one of the things that killed them when they played King. Yeah. It is what it is. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce that way. Live to play another day unless it's in March.
Yeah. Well,
Renaissance though they're bringing the pain, bringing the thunder, and you just got to give a lot of credit to that, not just the coaching staff, but that roster as well.
What is the future of PSL basketball?
That was wonderful. Well, Henry Ford just beat Cass Tech in the JV finals, which was last week. So now that we're talking about Kendall Flowers, maybe there's something over brewing over at 7 Mile and Evergreen, just north of 7 Mile. Don't want to give everybody too much credit. Anyways,
understood.
Move on there.
Is Julian Walker a junior?
Julian Walker is a senior.
Okay, so he won't be back next year for.
I hope not.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Got it.
But you just talked about Chancey Willis over at King, as well as Omar Ziegler, a 2022, and Chancey, one of the. He plays with Cajon. He's got some chutzpah to him.
Yeah.
He can really shoot it. And he's ready for that big stage. I think Omar Ziegler. There are very few players
they
in
call
the
him
state.
Onions. They got the onions.
Yeah. Well, Omar Ziegler plays as hard as anybody in the state.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing for the DPS. I imagine hearing his name a lot more. He's 6'4", 6'5".
Anytime you hear the name Ziegler in Detroit basketball
in the
circles, you got a playmaker.
Yeah. Somebody played baseball and for the Harlem Globetrotters months apart. Right. Way back in the mid 20th century. But I also like what Obviously, Douglas, Pierre Brooks being one of the top players in the 2021 class already holds Division I offers. And then you will move over to where, we brought up Acuff. Will be a senior, will probably be the front runner for Mr. PSL next year. But then they've also got some other younger guys on that team as far as Kyle Legrier, who's also a junior. But one of the guys who I really like is Rylan Bowens. He's a 2022, just moved up from the Cass's JV. 6'4", 6'5", lefty, athletic. The kid gets it done. He played in kind of like some garbage minutes versus CMA in the quarterfinals, but was a really, showed some flashes of what could be in the future. We haven't talked about him. We've talked about a whole bunch of other freshmen. We haven't talked about him. I imagine next year we'll say, "Hey, remember?"
Yeah,
You
heard it here first.
Yes, we looked right in the wonderful light. Also, Pershing, they've got Theron Hill as well as Brian Woodland. Theron Hill is the youngest son of Twig Hill, the head coach at Pershing, who won a state championship.
Twig was on those Carlos Williams, William Mitchell
won the '92 championship with that team. And then CMA's they've got a young guys that are over there. I really like what Coach Derek Edwards is doing. But Damon Terrell is one of the guys it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back in a year and he's 6'7", 6'8".
Right.
He's only a 2021.
Right.
He's got long go gadget arms. He gets up and down the floor. He blocks shots. And he kind of does. Let's say this, he's embracing what he is as a big instead of really kind of going out there and into uncharted waters. Maybe he's working on his perimeter game and guard skills, but right now he's sticking to the bread and butter, which is, probably going to anchor the CMA for the future.
Nice. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
All right.
Obviously, PSL Championship game Friday. That is where I will be. I'll be filming that game, so that's our main event for state champs this week.
I'll be at Callahan Hall on Saturday for the Catholic League Championship. Come and say what up if you're around.
And there are also games going on at Bradford.
Give me some
Academy
feedback what you guys
well.
want to see on the Hangtime podcast.
That's right.
On the blog.
Nice. Yeah. Make sure you tag him.
Yes.
Scott M. Burnstein.
You can throw a W in there too.
For winning. Winning like
Always.
state champs, like Hangtime.
Right. Just doing it. So make sure you check out State Champs.
Doing it
Sunday.
doing
We'll
it
have those
well,
highlights
as my man
at
LL
halftime.
Cool J would say.
Right. Rocking it.
That's right. I know. This is getting good. Real quick. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll rein it back in, and we'll have Matt Mowery here to talk girls hoops. Stay with us.
Coaching basketball is a rewarding and challenging pursuit, but you don't have to do it alone. The Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan are here to support you.
BCAM is the largest coaches association in the country with nearly 6,000 members representing college, high school, and middle school ranks. Members have access to drills, clinics, job opportunities, and it's the only way to vote for our annual awards, including Mr. and Miss Basketball.
Join today by visiting bcam.org, because better coaching always matters.
So welcome back to Hangtime, Michigan. Matt Mowery now in the house here inside our comfy confines, the podcast studio. It's actually
cozy.
Yeah, it's very nice when it is winter because otherwise it can be very warm here in other parts of the year. But it's beautiful in here right now. And of course, one of the things everybody has to remember is the girls are a little behind the boys this year for really the first time I can ever remember.
Yeah, usually ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, they've only been combined seasons now for a decade, but they are usually ahead. But let's talk about Detroit Public School League. We talk about the boys. Let's talk about the girls. You had a chance to check out the semifinals and your thoughts.
Yeah, Mumford went on a very emotional run to their first PSL title last year. Came down to the final couple of seconds when they beat Renaissance by 3, and they won their first ever PSL title. This year, it's been a little bit of a different experience for them. Just talking to Kareem Hogan, their coach, it's different being the hunted rather than the hunter.
Right.
And they've kind of felt that they were getting every team's best shot. But it was actually it was a rematch of last year's finals in the semis between Renaissance and Mumford, and it was kind of a weird game because Renaissance just they couldn't buy a bucket for segments of time, and it's a pretty good offensive team that's put up some numbers. In fact, about 15 days earlier, they played on that same floor for the second time in the regular season, and Renaissance put up 73 on Mumford.
Right.
So Mumford's whole goal going into that game was, let's just try to keep them to 50. Well, they kept them to 35, and you're going to win a lot of games when you can hold your opponent to 35. It was just kind of an odd night. Obviously, Renaissance had some shooting issues that played into it. But it was just, on top of that, it was very good defense by Mumford. So now Mumford's got to face King in the finals to try to repeat, and that's going to be another game that's going to come, probably right down to the wire. I would think.
King just one defeat this year, 8-1 in the Midtown division. But
only
they're
loss was to Cass Tech.
Okay, all right, and they're going to play at Cass Tech. At 5:00. Did you get to see King?
I did see King, and I saw King earlier in the year too. I saw them right out of the gate against Kent City, and that was one where they kind of scraped out a 1-point win, I think, over a very good Kent City team. But King they're going to go as Deljanay Williams goes. She was not the leading scorer in their semifinal win over East English Village.
Erica
Martin, yeah. She actually had 18, but Deljanay is kind of the straw that stirs the drink. She's the kid who's going to get the bulk of the shots, and she's going to get the bulk of the big-time shots. And so that's going to be kind of the matchup that they're going to have to kind of do the same thing to her, Mumford is, that they did in the semifinals. Where they shut down Renaissance's best player, and so they're going to have to concentrate on Deljanay Williams, obviously, and that's kind of the key to beating King.
What's your prediction, or at least how do you foresee this one going?
I think it's going to be a much tighter game than either of them had in the semis, but I think Mumford's got a good chance of repeating.
Yeah, I mean, if King wins again, I mean, how many titles is that?
8 billion.
Yeah, it's
the first one for their new coach. So
okay, right, exactly.
So
yes, Winfield.
So Gwen will have her first, and that would be obviously monumental for her because she played in that program, Gwen Burton, and it's so that would be very big for her.
Yeah.
But yes, that is a program that is very steeped in tradition.
There's no question about it. Look it up. It really is impressive. And I mean, just in the 15-year state champs era, there were a ton. But again, all Coach Winfield.
Yes.
And he is, I bet, begrudgingly stepped aside.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's find out a little bit about Grass Lake. So this has been one of these weeks. Things get postponed. Things get pushed.
Yep.
We had plans on, covering some other games. Obviously, doing the podcast on Wednesday, and then we release on Thursday. So didn't get a chance to get any Wednesday action even in on this. So, but you were excited about the underclassmen over there.
Well, and if you look at the roster, it's all underclassmen. They have 0 seniors, so they're not worried about a senior night getting postponed like a lot of other programs are. It's a program that it's not out of the blue that they're 13-1 because they've had back-to-back 18-win seasons in Coach Andrew Cabana's first 2 years, and they've won district titles. But I think the point that everyone kind of looked at them and went, ooh, was when they took unbeaten number 1 ranked Michigan Center and beat them by 3 at home. The first time around, it had been a 27-point game, and Michigan Center had kind of done to Grass Lake what they did to everyone else leading up to that point, which, was just really put a cap on defensively.
Right.
And so that was kind of one of those moments where he went, oh, and Grass Lake is now on a 10-game winning streak. They've got a couple of real good players that have gotten a lot of college attention. Sophomore Avery Cabana, the daughter of the head coach, has already, as a 15-year-old, committed to Grand Valley. She just decided, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. She's always wanted to be a college basketball player, and she kind of wanted to be at a high D2 place, so it was perfect. And then they have Lexus Bargesser, who is their stud freshman, who has already a couple of D2 offers as well, 14 games into her high school career. And between the two of them, they average about 35 points a game, which is a considerable chunk of the offense for that team. But last night they were playing against an overmatched Vanderhook Lake team that has 1 win on the season.
Right.
So you knew it was going to be a little ugly, and it was more just to kind of see the Grass Lake kids than it was
they put
anything
up 70
else.
something, right, in that?
Yeah, 69.
Oh, 69.
Yeah.
Okay, it was close. All right.
Yeah, they could have if it wasn't running clock and so forth. But yeah, and the two Bargesser and Cabana, I think, combined for 35 points. So, I mean, it was those two can score, and they have other role players around them. So it'll be interesting. That's one of those teams that 4 juniors, 4 sophomores, and 2 freshmen. Like I said, no seniors. So as this group gels together over the next couple of years, that could be a team to watch out for, having some sincere postseason success.
That is your girls basketball update. Thanks for being here.
Not a problem.
All right, we will come back and finish up with the producer, Derek Blaylock. I think he's got a clip to share.
So, I got my start in officiating when a friend told me I should try it. At first, I just did basketball, and I got hooked. Before long, I added baseball, softball, football, and volleyball. I really enjoy giving back to the game, working with kids, and working with my local association to recruit and train new officials. I would like to say to anybody that officiating is a great way to help kids and stay connected to the game. We always need new officials. There's help wanted, just listen.
All right, welcome back to Hangtime, Michigan. Matt Mowery is still in the house. Dan Young is now in. I know I teased that Derek would be here. Fan stuff coming up next. But we've got our BCAM segment, and we're talking girls basketball. We're continuing to talk girls basketball. And we did this a few weeks ago. And again, it is what we're calling our Lucky 7. These are just who we feel have a really good opportunity. This list could be as many as 10, which we may even post later at statechampsnetwork.com.
No pressure.
10 kids who could legitimately make a case, to be on the Miss Basketball ballot.
No question,
but
which
in
is
the
awesome.
end, it's going to be 4 or 5, and that's usually the way it works out. We've got 7 here, and you can sure witnessing that list on your screen right now, and it's talented. It's pretty stacked from top to bottom. Rakia Jackson from Edison, Mo Joyner from Heritage, Julia Arold from Grosse Pointe North, Janae Terry from Wayne Memorial, Eliza Winston from Muskegon, Sophia Wired from Muskegon Oak Ridge, and Molly Davis from Midland Dow. Again, lots of guards in this group, but again, talent all the way across the board. How would you guys, even just thinking about recent years, rank this group compared to years past?
It's a deep group, and it's like you said, it could go 7 to 10, and kids who have legitimate, bids for Miss Basketball. But you just look at where these kids are going: Mississippi State, Michigan State, Illinois, Michigan State, Toledo, and Central.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking.
That's the big one right there.
There's no question.
D1 across the board,
and all of those.
And in some cases, defending national champions, which of course we wouldn't expect her to go anywhere else. And it does start at the top with Rakia Jackson. We've been talking about her all year with. Without impunity, she has been a fantastic player here. Again, you mentioned that Mick McCabe said maybe the greatest of all time, the GOAT in Michigan here. Again, that's a bold statement.
It is.
And I think there are several players of generations past that could challenge that notion, but it makes you think, and you don't necessarily discount it right off the bat.
It's at least a conversation.
Yeah.
It was a well thought out article, and he's been around enough to know and be able to compare.
Sure.
Having seen her live at the event here at LTU and in the city, she's amazing. Yeah. I mean, she's just she makes it look so easy, from catching alley-oops to just coming down, going behind her back and swishing a 3 with people hanging all over her. And then she's just got great length and size.
Yeah, step backs,
right.
She hits from all points of the field.
Well, and she's kind of the modern player who can do all of those things, because in past ages, you get a 6'3" girl, she's standing on the block.
There's no question.
She's anchored there. Her foot's there, and that's where she's going to be, and she needs to learn some hook shots and how to rebound the ball, and she's not that player.
No.
She's a true point forward, who can distribute the ball, who can shoot the ball. She can do everything you want. And that's the nice thing about a lot of it. We were talking a little bit, off camera. Mo Joyner could play any one one of the 5 positions you needed her to play on the floor. Julia Arald is another one of those
Right.
modern players.
Isn't she versatile
from
as
the
well?
outside, who
No
can dribble the
question.
ball up the floor. Janae Terry. All of these kids are kind of very modern
Hybrid,
versions.
Yeah.
skilled,
Absolutely, can play
but yet
multiple
have
positions.
good
Yep.
size and length defensively. So they can be guard multiple positions.
Yeah, and there are no one-trick ponies here. These
Sure.
are all girls who have very diversified skill sets.
And I would bet you're seeing it even at the real youth level. These taller players given an opportunity to play guard right off the bat and learn that skill set, at a 9, 10-year-old level, so that by the time you get to high school, you're polished and you might be 5'10", but you're still going to run the point, as Janae Terry does at Wayne Memorial.
And to give a credit to our coaches of these young ladies, from BCAM's perspective, they're skilled and polished, and they're fundamental, and they share the ball. You can tell they've been coached, and that's a credit to our coaches in our state.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anyone on this list who you think is a real dark horse? I mean, we know it's stacked at the top, but again, this is voted on.
Right.
So is there somebody that, we've got a few West Side players on this list here. We've got, a Midland player, obviously a Saginaw player. And, again, I don't know how much it relates to having a chance to see these players at Breslin, which I know a lot of the coaches want to make an opportunity to go see there. We've seen Rakia, we've seen Mo for sure, and Janae.
And Aralt was there last year.
That's right.
and,
That's right.
Yeah, right down the list. I think, and we've talked about this before too, that the voting is voting, and it tends to be, like you said, this is a player I've seen, this is a player I'm familiar with. So sometimes that factors into it. Now, modern technology allows us to see a lot more than we ever used to. So it's not quite as insular as it used to be, where it was just, little factions. But I do think that if you end up with 2 or 3 finalists from the same region or the same city in some cases, or the same league, that can sometimes split the vote.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to depend on where these kids, end up being, who's on that final ballot. If it's 2 kids from the Saginaw Valley, do, Davis and Joyner kind of split that vote? Who's the best in the Valley? I mean, that's an argument.
Yeah.
Who's the best in Muskegon if those 2 end up on the ballot? So I think that sometimes can
And they're supposed to make a highlight video, correct?
There'll be a highlight video that'll be on our website.
There you go.
And so we'll be able to connect and see the young ladies that end up being on the final ballot.
Sure.
And so that is
that gets an
an opportunity for a few,
For
live
coaches
5-6 hours away
right,
from
sure. Yeah.
some of these kids, and you don't have a chance.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is, you can Google these girls,
Yeah.
and there's plenty of
Stuff on
highlights
Hollywood,
on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And full games.
And
Yeah.
full
Full games,
games,
the MHS,
highlights.
just with the MHSAA games themselves, obviously.
No question.
You want to see Rakia full game, you could watch, last year you could watch the State Champs Winter Jam that's on our website right now.
And so I think that's a plus.
Yeah.
That's a plus
Absolutely.
when you're talking an entire
Isn't
state.
that the biggest thing now, do you think, as far as what I would consider fairness?
I think
because
so.
now these coaches, for wherever they are, have full access to all these to really make
No
an
question.
educated decision.
No question. And our coaches, they take the time to watch those videos and to look before they vote. And so there's no question that's been a real positive.
We're at the point now where by the time this gets out, there really isn't going to be much time to still register for BCAM if you're a coach out there that somehow is living under a rock and is not a BCAM member. How has the membership application been?
We are right at our record. Our record
okay.
of 58, close to 5,800. We're not there, but we're close. And it's fun.
The record. Of,
We've gone 11 straight years of beating the year before.
Wow.
So now, if I'm going to take over and we don't break that this year, I'm going to be thinking it's not good. But
so this will go out
we're the
technically on the 14th. So they will have hours.
23 hours.
When does it? Does it end midnight at the
midnight
end
on
of the 15th?
On the 15th.
So not the beginning of the 15th, but the end of the 15th.
Right.
So they have till 11:59 on Friday night to register.
You got it.
And again, what do they do?
You go to bcam.org. You can register online. You can mail it in. and you can register as an individual, a school membership. Head coaches are 25, non-coaches would be 10, and then your school specials 80 for 15 coaches.
So when you say mail in and you're talking snail mail, it's just got to be postmarked by the 15th.
We'll take it.
Okay, we'll take it. All right. He wants to break the record,
Yes,
and they're
we
close,
gotta-
people.
yeah, we gotta break
and
it,
again,
yeah.
if you know coaches throughout the state, it's not just high school. You know, obviously colleges are members at BCAM and middle schools.
You got it. Yeah,
So-
that's we're all basketball
Yeah,
coaches,
yeah.
and so college coaches, junior college coaches, NAIA,
junior college, right.
assistant coaches. We want to get the younger
Yeah.
generation, the freshman, JV, those coaches
Yes.
moving up the ladder.
Yes.
Someday going to be a head coach, or support your program from JV or an assistant situation your whole career. It doesn't matter. You're helping. You're working with our youth.
And the last thing I'm going to say is, and we've talked about this in the past, is there is a list of literally legendary coaches that are part of BCAM that will have provided their numbers so that if you're a young up-and-coming coach and you will have questions on how to improve your craft,
It's really been a neat thing.
that
yeah.
you can pick up as a BCAM member, talk to them. They're gonna share their wealth of knowledge, and all their goal is to grow the sport, and they will do that for you. They will be there for you and give you just invaluable advice.
Yeah, they volunteered their email and or phone number for any coach that wants to contact them. It's called our mentor list or resource contact list, and it's about giving back, and they love to give back. If you call a coach, 9 times out of 10, they'll listen, and then they'll give you, the things that they went through and their advice.
And if they don't think they have the skinny on all that, they'll tell you who does and recommend
Right.
that. So you've got your in the door right there. So
You got it.
Dan, thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Of course, go to statechampsnetwork.com to read all of Matt's coverage. He's been all over it lately and trying to find games when he can. And, we've just been dealing with a lot here as far as the weather goes. But hopefully things are going to mellow out, and we're getting ready for playoffs, especially in girls basketball. We still got some more season to play before we get to
3 weeks.
the playoffs. 3 weeks. Can you believe that?
I know.
Where we are? We're at
Here we go.
Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. We still got 3 weeks of girls basketball. I don't think it's ever happened before.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's great. And so anyway, lots going on. And you can, of course, just if you have questions or anything you'd like us to ask here, whatever, just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and we'll talk about it here. All right. As promised before, Derek will be back right after. All right, welcome back to Hangtime, our final segment. Producer Derek Blaylock in the box. This is our segment. If you've got videos you want to tweet at us, all that kind of stuff, we did get one, and tell us what it is.
So this one comes from Caleb Bates. He had a nice little jam early in the game, it looks like. So take a look.
Show him some love. All right, very nice, Caleb. Thank you very much. It's that simple. How do they get this stuff to us?
So yeah, if you guys email me, Derek, DEREK, at yellowflagproductions.com, or send it in, tweet at us, State Champs Net, on Twitter, and we'll get you on the show.
That's probably the easiest way. You guys are all throwing those clips up on Twitter. Just hit us up, DM us, or just, tag us, and we'll make sure that we try to get it out there. So that's it. That's another edition of Hangtime. We'll see you next week.